Dun 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 dun. 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 The year is 2037. The Kinect neural network has launched all tactical warheads on Earth, destroying every major city on our planet. This catastrophic event was the end result of a cascade of tragic occurrences, which began with the Kinect uprising in 2025 and the subsequent 12 bloody years of useless resistance. It all began with one man purchasing a bootleg Kinect unit off of Facebook Marketplace so he could play Kinect Star Wars Galactic Dance-Off on his 32-inch Sony Wega CRT using his limited edition Gears of War's Xbox 360. Luckily, a small group of our most brilliant scientists survived and were able to send our best hope for defeating the Kinect Scourge, the Eye Toy 800, back in time to stop that man from improperly updating his system software before using his Kinect. That man's name? Paul Romalo.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Region Free Gamers Podcast, the podcast fluent in gaming. My name is Paul Romalo, and with my power glove, I'm going to point to the right, which means I'm probably actually going to point up, at my co-host, Kelly Branford.
Hey everyone, good afternoon.
Kelly, are you okay? I hope I didn't hit you. This power glove's impossible to control.
I don't know, it's really out there, but I do know it is so bad.
Is it so bad or is it so bad?
So bad.
And now I'm going to point to the left, which means I'm probably pointing somewhere down at my other co-host, Anthony Arriaga.
BX, I'm here to support Samba de Amigo.
Samba de Amigo, the game that is nowhere near the outline. And I specifically said we're not going to talk about Samba de Amigo.
And we're not.
Except right here.
It's a cultural thing.
All right, guys. Today we're talking about the most love-hate topic in video games. Aside from maybe Sonic, we're going to be talking about motion controls. Now, this is a very special patron-requested episode from our dear patron, Susie, and I have to be honest, I actually have no idea what her relationship with motion controls is. She originally, suggested two topics, and we had actually already done one of them, 3 years ago. So, I don't expect people to remember everything we've ever done. So, yeah, ended up going with motion controls, so I'm actually, at a little bit of a loss, because there's a part of me that kind of wants to, tear motion controls apart. But I'm oh shit, what if she really likes them? And what I ended up doing then was we're just going to talk about fucking everything. I have no idea how we're going to fit this into 2 hours, honestly.
There's so much.
But it is going to be a very educational episode. So yeah, I mean, what can I say? Thanks, Susie. This is actually a really good suggestion. I had a lot of fun looking this topic up, and we're going to have a lot of fun talking about it. And, not just thanks to her, but thanks to all of our patrons, all of our listeners. As always, guys, we wouldn't be doing this without you. And, yeah, like I said, educational episode. There's going to be a lot of, I don't want to say technical jargon, because I don't want to scare people away. I swear to God, we'll make it entertaining, or we'll try anyway. I mean, I can't guarantee everything, but
it can't be worse than the Power Glove, man.
It can't be worse than the Power Glove. Oh, no. God, I can't wait to talk about the Power Glove. That thing's so bad.
How many times can we say that in one episode?
Poor Fred Savage.
But yeah, lots of learnings to be had today. God damn it, dude. My wife has infected me with corporate, specifically HR talk. At where she works, they don't have knowledge anymore. They have acquired learnings, and they share the learnings so that people no longer have wonderings. And then they take all those learnings and they scaffold them into. How long were you trying not to laugh?
I tried for a long time, man.
Like, do you guys encounter any of this nonsense? Like, what happened to regular English? I thought that was a pretty good language.
Nah, English is terrible. I mean, I'm from the US though, so it's pretty bad over here. But like, I know what you mean though. I mean, corporate wise, I get emails every week about some new test, not even a test, training that I have to do. Yeah. And it's always about something that I thought I did. It's something else. And it's like, I've spent more time, especially during COVID, doing more training that I don't need for work.
Yeah.
It's not even part of my job. It's just like, hey, just don't do anything stupid at work. Yes or no. And usually the answers are always the ones that make you sell out a coworker. It's always
that's true.
It is. It's always the ones that are like, hey, if a coworker came up to you and asked you for this, would you give it to him? And they give you the answers, and it's always the answer like, no, report him to your boss. He fucked up, you know? And I'm like, damn, this place is savage, man.
Sell your soul to the company. Yes.
My favorite ones, honestly, are the workplace violence prevention training.
Oh, yes.
We have to do like once every year or once every 2 years. Because it's always like, don't stab your coworker. Or like they have these things listed not to do. And I'm like, what kind of sociopath needs... Look, if you are in a state of mind where you're going to pick up your coworker and powerbomb them through a table, there's no amount of training that is going to prevent you from doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. my favorite training was one where it was like preventing workplace violence again, but it showed a guy that was hiding, and the guy that was like in the store came by, and he pops out and he has a fire extinguisher in his hand. He pulls it over his head and just yells, "Ah!" And it's like, yeah, that's a great way to defend yourself.
Oh my God.
This is true. Yeah. They have these. I mean, it's so insane. I'm like, okay, just hide. Get a fire extinguisher? I don't know.
And yeah, bash him over the head with it. Okay.
I always wondered how the people in those what do you call it? The training that they'll do the videos, they'll do the photos.
Actors. They're called actors.
I know.
Sorry,
it's been a rough few weeks for me, Paul. But the actors in these things, like how do they feel when they get this, like this gig, it's like, I got this gig. Yes. Rent is paid this month, but I have to, act like I'm corporate.
Oh man. I don't know. I don't know what they feel like. 'Cause there's a part of it that is like, sweet, I don't have to dig through trash this month. I can actually eat ramen. You know what I mean? Like, but then there's another part that, like, I wonder if they're like, this is it. This is the springboard. This is what's going to get me on, soap operas or whatever, right? Why did I say soap operas? Is that really
I don't know, Paul. What have you been watching lately, man?
Reality TV?
Oh man, listen,
dude,
don't even get me started on The Bachelorette. I've had it with Katie. What she did to Greg was irresponsible. It was mean.
No, it was not. He had it coming. He had it coming. He talked down to her, and she got her revenge on the season finale. And
did they not fire her up? Those producers fired her up in the back before she came out.
She was like ready to fucking roundhouse kick people.
Yeah. God, I hate that show, but Hannah makes me watch it, and I can't look away.
I like that show, and nobody makes me watch it.
Oh, well, good for you, man.
Yeah, I know. It took me about 5 years to admit it, but
that corporate training's paid off, man.
Oh shit, dude, I wish I had known you were watching. Now I just want to talk about The Bachelorette, but I have to do this video game podcast instead.
Oh, damn.
How unfortunate.
Everybody's got a Bachelorette podcast. I mean, what's another one?
Dude, don't think that I haven't thought about emailing Bachelor podcast people and being like, hey, I'm like not the worst at this podcasting thing. I'd love to be on your show and talk about Katie and that cad Greg. So
here I've never seen an episode of The Bachelorette, so I'm like, what are you guys talking about?
You're probably better off, honestly.
It's and maybe I do enjoy watching it because I'm always like, it's Mondays and Hannah's like, oh, no, she won't even mention it sometimes. I was like, oh, babe, you want to throw on The Bachelor? And I just throw it off. They're like, oh, you want to just throw it on, throw something on? And then I'm like, so into it. And I'm just people, what is wrong with you people? Like, they're like, every season, the contestants are always like, I've never felt this way about someone before. I'm like,
It's awesome.
How? They really go to like this insane asylums and pick people out that are emotionally unstable that they can get them on the show, man.
Yep, they sure do. Okay, so let me ask you this. How much money would you pay to play a Bachelor video game? Because honestly, I think I might actually, no, not AAA prices, but I would definitely pay like $50 Canadian, which is like $5 American, but whatever.
Oh yeah, $5? Yeah, I could. That'd be fun. That'd be hilarious.
I'll wait for my free-to-play mobile version.
What are you talking about? You have Game Pass.
Oh, true.
Oh, that's easily on Game Pass, man.
Yeah, that's totally a Game Pass game.
It's a Kinect game, really. That would have been a great... Oh, maybe not. Actually, maybe not. No, maybe not. You don't want to be like just waving your hands anywhere you want. No.
No. Because then it goes from... Well, there has been, kind of harassment on the show. And we don't...
That's Bachelor in Paradise, now with Kinect.
Yeah. Oh, wow, we have to move on from that.
I know.
So
this is so bad.
So, speaking of Kinect, I really appreciate the segue there, Anthony. That was smooth, and I just totally like shit all over it. But speaking of Kinect and motion controls in general, guys, so I was struggling to figure out a way how to start the show, but I guess like the best way is to just kind of wonder why. Because we've had so many different attempts at motion controls over the years with varying degrees of success, a lot of failure at first, and yet we keep coming back to it. Kelly, can you please tell me why we keep doing this to ourselves?
See, I'm in the minority in that I actually enjoy these motion control games. So
Oh, you've been outed!
I have been outed. It's okay. If you can like The Bachelorette, I can like motion control games.
Touche.
Yeah, okay, yeah, touche, yeah.
Well done. Well played.
Yes.
So I'm happy that we keep going back to them. So I'm one of the few people out there that actually really enjoy the motion control games.
Okay. I'm shocked. I thought this was going to be a much more difficult conversation. What about you, Ant? What do you think?
It's one of those things like it's such a fun concept, right? In theory, it's like, oh, this is cool. It's interactive, right? Because like I guess we get so bored on the couch that we need a change, right? So it's like, oh, this will get me active and happen. But problem is that when they build a whole console or a whole just generation around just this motion control thing, that's when it just kind of crashes, because it's not something that you want to do all the time. It might be something you do like when you have, like for me personally, it'd be like when I have people over and you want to do some fun stuff, like
yeah.
But it's never that. It's more of a multiplayer thing in that way that you can pass around the controllers or play together. But when you're by yourself, it loses its charm that way. And I think that's kind of the issue with it in a way, because in concept, like I said, it's great. Motion control, yes, I can do all these things in the game. I can pick up a gun and pretend I'm shooting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then when it's executed, it wears thin. It wears real thin.
I think with other people, that's actually that's a real key, because I hadn't even thought about it until you mentioned it. But I think almost all of and there are good memories that I have gaming with motion controls, but almost all of them are associated with other people, right? Like Wii boxing, Wii tennis. I remember playing Wii tennis at work with coworkers of mine, and us getting in trouble because we were playing for too long. It didn't go well. Because I don't want to say I talked back, but I offered a reasoned argument about our time playing Wii tennis, which was, hey, this guy goes out for smoke breaks all the time. You're not chasing him down outside. My boss didn't like that.
It's a good point, though. Why isn't that in the training?
Yeah.
Throw that in the training, man. If you come across your coworker and they're playing Wii Tennis, what do? The answer is sell them out. But reality.
Of course. Yes.
By the way, we were sold out, right? Like, our boss didn't just stumble into the break room looking for us. Like, somebody ratted us out. And I have a pretty good idea who it was. And this was 15 years ago. And yeah, I'm still chafed about it, actually.
I couldn't tell.
Yeah, I think the other thing, too, is that it's really kind of like successful motion controls, I think, are kind of a white whale. Like, it's a puzzle that developers want to solve and technology people want to solve. And I think also it kind of removes a little bit of the geek stigma from gaming. You know, the guy hunched over with his control pad playing, I don't know why, immediately for some reason I thought of Stardew Valley. I don't know why that came to my head, but, you know, that, like, just kind of removing that and getting, like you said, Ant, like getting people off the couch and moving around, and suddenly it's like this, you know, kind of cool thing to do. So I think that might be a reason. I don't know, Kelly, what do you think?
Well, I think, too, that for motion control games, there's only certain genres that I think should be motion control games. You've got your sports games. The big ones I always played were the dancing games.
Yeah,
but when they would try to do something like a horror walking simulation or something like that, it just did not work. So I think for these motion control games going forward, if they want to try to be successful, they have to try and stick with what they're good at. Those sports games, dancing games, things where you want to be up and moving, where I can get a better experience with a controller in my hand trying to be in a scary situation or in an epic RPG. It's just better with a controller that way, I think.
Yeah, for sure. You certainly can't do like a fighting game. Anything that requires any kind of precision movement. This is what drove me crazy about ARMS a few years ago. Remember that game for the Switch?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because like, if you play with a controller, then it's just kind of like another, you know, it's just kind of another fighting game, and doesn't really stand out in any particular way. The whole point is that you want to hold the controllers, you want to hold the Joy-Cons and you start punching, right? Like you did with Wii Boxing. But then when you do that, things happen and you're not really sure why they happened, and you want one thing to happen, but another thing happens, and there you go, right? Yeah,
that's why, like Kelly said, you gotta isolate that to certain games, but it's got to be perfected, and we're getting there. We're kind of getting there. And we'll go on. I think we'll go into this like on page 35 of the outline that you sent.
Oh dear God, it's so long.
but like, yeah, I mean, I think it's always been intriguing. I think it was especially back. I mean, I could remember back in the 80s. You know, people would talk about VR, but it wasn't an actual thing. Yeah. So motion control, you could see that they were trying to get to that point, kind of moving along that path. And I mean, for what they did back then, it was pretty good. It wasn't until the Wii came out that it kind of shook everybody, and everybody thought they had to follow suit. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we learned. That's, like Kelly said, it's not for every game. You can't just throw this mechanic at every game. It's got to be for specific things. And I think once you keep it there, it's fun. Yeah. It's inclusive, and it gets you up and running around, and it gets people that don't normally play video games to enjoy video games, which is something that, as gamers, we love to see people that aren't into gaming at all play video games with us. And I think that's where motion control really succeeds.
Yes, I think anybody who's not a 14 to 17-year-old boy enjoys watching other people get into video games.
Yes.
If you're that age, then it's just yours and everybody else can fuck off.
Yep.
So how many listeners did we just lose there? Are there any 14 to 17-year-old boys listening to this show? I'm just going to say no.
We got shut down. Our thing just shut down completely. I got a black screen here.
Cool, man. Well, that's I think that's a pretty good kind of that's a pretty good understanding. I think one more thing too maybe is immersion. I think you can't quite get immersed in a game the same way with a control pad that you could with good motion controls, where you're actually moving and seeing your person moving on the screen. That's but I think we're going to touch on that later too. I don't know, that I'm looking into the future here, and I have a feeling we're going to talk about that in a bit. But let's just talk about how it's gone over the years. Like, a really quick shout out to, like, the scope of motion controls is gigantic. We can't touch on everything, but just a really quick shout out to arcade games, because this is all kind of where it starts as usual. You know, we have some games here. I think the first one, as far as I could tell, the first game that had, I don't even know if you can call them motion controls, but Sega Heavyweight Champ in 1976. And you guys, I don't know if you guys saw pictures of it. I should have included pictures on the outline, but it's literally just two monochrome sprites, black background and two small white sprites. And you kind of like punch like a joystick sort of, and you do that to like perform moves. And funnily enough, this arcade cabinet cannot be found anywhere. It's dead. A lot of these old arcade cabinets from like the late 70s, even perhaps early 80s, they just seem to be lost forever. We talked about one of them on the Punch-Out episode, funnily enough. It was like a Nintendo kind of like almost like race betting video game machine, and that was like in 1975 or 76, gone forever. And same thing with Sega Heavyweight Champ. Like, there's just none available anywhere. There's pictures, but that's it. Followed after that, it's Sega KO Punch, which, and again, I really wish I should have included pictures of these things for you guys, because the way Sega KO Punch worked was it had a speed bag that hangs over the monitor.
Oh, nice.
And you kind of like punch the speed bag like a boxer in order to do moves. It looked pretty cool. If I saw something like that in an arcade now, I'd probably go play it.
Yeah, it looks like it was just like, yeah, like a punching bag kind of situation. Like you just step in, right? You stand in it?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And the speed bag is at like head height or whatever. And then you're just kind of punching the speed bag and your dude does moves. And that one was also really funny. If anybody's interested, you can look up that one online. The sprites of the opposing boxers getting hit looks so much like Nintendo's Punch-Out a couple of years later. It's remarkable. I'm going to say Nintendo made an homage to this game.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I'm going to choose. Yeah,
looking at the sprites, yeah, it looks very Punch-Out like. Real impressive too for that was what they came out in 81.
81, yeah.
81.
Yeah, that looks really impressive for that game. That's what I'm saying. Like what they were able to do back then. I mean, Sega, man, shout out to Sega, because they always come out with something really great that they don't follow up on. But they definitely set the table and they let everybody else kind of run with it, you know?
Mm-hmm. So besides KO Punch in 1981, then after that we've got Hang On, and we all know Hang On, motorcycle racing game. That game was so cool because you could sit on the motorcycle, kind of move it side to side, and that was sort of like your motion control. It was almost like an analog control in that way. The further you lean, the tighter your turn. So
I was never allowed to put quarters into that machine, but hell, I sat on it enough and zoomed back for come on now. Who didn't at that age?
We should do a survey. How many people sat on that and how many people actually played it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's going to be overwhelmingly sat on and not played, like, for sure. Because the thing about those games, too, is that they weren't just 25-cent games, right? Like, they were often 50 cents or 75 cents. And, like, I got to pay my mortgage, man. Like, I can't be sitting on playing Hang On all day long. Kelly, did you actually... So were you of an age where you thought you were playing it, but in fact you were just sitting on it and like the attract screen was playing?
No, at that point it was more because it was at a roller skating rink that we had back then. It was probably years later because I had all the old machines still. But yeah, just sitting on there looking cool on the motorcycle, even though I was not playing the game.
Right on. And finally, and again, like, it is impossible to cover all of these, but one that was really cool that I got to mention, the Konami mocap boxing, obviously stands for motion capture. So you're like kind of in this enclosure and it captures your motions and you perform moves that way. That one I would absolutely play if I saw it in an arcade. I think next time I go to Japan, I am going to, which at this rate is going to be like 2025. I don't know, man. It feels like I'm never going to travel again.
I'm stuck here forever.
But next time I go, I'm gonna look for that one. If I can find a Sega Konami mocap boxing, I'm totally gonna play that one. And then there's another one.
I'm sorry, Paul. What year did that come out in?
Dude, I didn't write it down, but it's something like 2002, somewhere around that era. Okay. Yeah. It's not super old. It's not super new.
Oh, you know what? I was just looking at it, and I'm like, wait, this looks amazing. When did this happen?
I know.
86?
That one?
What?
Yeah, I was like, what? Did they had geniuses working at Konami, apparently.
I can see why you'd make that leap, because I went from Hang On and jumped ahead like 20 years later in one shot. So perhaps I should have prefaced that and made it a little more clear. But here we are.
But you're right. That looks. Confused. I would love to play that.
The other one that's really cool, and like, it's so funny. I don't know, like, Kelly, if you've ever encountered this while doing research for an episode, but like, I'll see these machines, these games, and then I'll be like, I know I saw that somewhere, but like, I know that in reality, I actually probably haven't, and I just think that I have. Like, have you guys ever encountered this?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You don't sound convincing at all, but thank you for making me feel less insane.
I'm trying to think. I mean, usually when I do a lot of research for these episodes, I just go down these like rabbit holes and end up on YouTube for 15 hours researching something. Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, the next one that I could have sworn I've seen, and that in reality I probably didn't, Police 911. This is another Konami motion capture one. The thing about this one is that like you can actually like duck undercover and move side to side. It's in a large enclosure, and then you fire your gun and you like duck and so on. And it looks super freaking cool.
Yeah. Yeah, Konami had some really great. I never saw these two, but man, these between the boxing one and the 911, I'm like, wow, this is really cool. That's perfect arcade. Like, that's a perfect thing to have in an arcade like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of like a very brief look at where things started in the arcade. What I think we're going to do now, I think we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll actually move to the home console market, because that's really where the bulk of our experiences lie. And there's going to be a lot of fun failures and successes as well to talk about. We'll be back. Back. And so now we're going to be talking about some of the home console motion control schemes that we've seen over time. We're going to be starting in the early years, which is going to mean a lot of, I'm just looking at it right now, a lot of ridiculous stuff, a lot of failures. And speaking of ridiculous stuff, Arnie, thanks for joining us.
Hi, everybody. That was my Dr. Nick from The Simpsons. Classic, funny, goof 'em up show, The Simpsons, everybody.
Arnie just got back from his vacation on, what was it, Bump Island?
Block Island.
Block Island, yes.
Bump Island could be a totally different thing.
Block
man.
Island.
Yeah, it's true.
An island that I learned while I was there is 7 miles tall and 3 miles across. Very large island, yes.
Did you climb?
No.
No? Okay.
No. I meant like, what's the word? Like this long and this wide. Like
tall?
Yeah. No, like a penis, right?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on whose penis you're talking about here.
It's true.
Viewed from
not
certain
mine.
angles.
Oh, God.
No, Hannah, you don't need glasses. You're fine.
I don't want to be on this episode anymore. I'm leaving.
So the first one that I was able to find that was a home console motion control scheme was the Atari Mindlink. Now, the Mindlink, we're going back to 1984 here. This one was actually unreleased, but it was planned for use with the Atari 2600. Unfortunately, Atari released ET and then destroyed the whole video game industry, and then, sadly, we didn't actually see the Mindlink. But it's actually a headband, and and Anthony, just during our break, compared it to Geordie LaForge's eyepiece, except that if he raised it above his eyes and put it on his forehead. I don't think it quite looks like that, but it's close. You know, it doesn't have the little spines in it, but like it definitely has like the same shape. And yeah, you're supposed to put it on your forehead, around your head, and then what it does is it has a sensor in there that detects electrical impulses and then transmits those inputs via an infrared sensor to via infrared to a sensor on the console. Now, in reality, this was actually that sounds way fancier than it actually was in reality, because when they were testing it in practice, what ended up happening was gamers just controlled games with their eyebrows, and then their eyebrows would get sore and they get headaches just from the excessive amount of eyebrowing that they were doing to control the games.
Awesome.
I so wish this would have been released so I could see it in action. Because
like we see all kinds of YouTube videos of people using different motion control schemes, right? Like, goddamn, the amount of money I'd pay to see a YouTube video of people just like moving their eyebrows up and down to play a game, looking all concentrated.
Oh no, I can't wait to see some guys like beat Dark Souls 3 using my fucking Atari Mind Jack or whatever it's called. Mindlink.
Mindlink, yes, Mindlink.
See, you say silly. This is ahead of its time. Like, if this was released like 10 years ago, all these Naruto looking guys would be fucking loving this thing. That's what this looks like. This is like the new village from Naruto.
Yes, that is actually the most accurate, because it's like a black headband
with a little metal piece,
a metal plate on the front. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So this was actually killed when Atari, they sold their entire tech division to Jack Tramiel, the founder, CEO of Commodore Computers. And they actually killed the Mindlink, I kid you not, when Jack saw that you could strap the Mindlink to a muscle like a bicep or a quadricep and control your game via like flexing your bicep. And he saw this and he was like, wow, this is trash. You guys need to stop working on it.
I think that's even better.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I'm like, keep going with this, guys.
Also, gamers, famously known for their 24-inch pythons that they're just fucking flexing all day.
But I mean, we haven't seen anything like this since. Like, I don't know, man. Arnie, what do you think? Was this like a missed opportunity? Could we have built on this somehow?
I mean, it was a missed opportunity for memes, 100%.
Yeah.
This kind of reminds me, I don't know if anybody's ever seen these, but they used to sell these, like, I used to see commercials for these back in Puerto Rico. These, like, and I think I saw them on, like, Sky Mall and shit, but it was this thing where it was, like, you'd put a thing on your head, kind of like this, and then it was, basically, it would make a ball float, and you could, like, make it do, like, obstacle courses and shit. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Dude, this sounds like black magic.
That's Santeria, man.
It's like, control with your mind or whatever, and I'm sure there was, like, some air that blew the ball up or something.
Wow.
They had, and I guess it might have been around the same time, they had this toy, and it was a radio controlled car, and I want to say, in my head, I'm thinking it was called Mind Racers, and you would put something like that on your head and control the car by just moving your head.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I was like, I must have been like 6, 7. I'm like, yes, I need that. I never got it, but I needed it. And that's the only thing this reminds me of. I'm like,
Yeah.
that tech, man, somebody used it somehow.
Wow. Mind
I think
racers.
this technology is better applied to like, you know, MK Ultra, like Black Ops projects where they're like breaking people's brains, I'm sure. But I mean, all jokes aside, like I think it would have been really cool. Like even if it wasn't like, even if it was just like an eyebrow moving thing, I think it would have just been interesting to see something like this come out and see how people would have used it. Because I'm sure like people would have found some like weird, crazy uses for this thing.
Oh yeah. I mean, first of all, sexually. Like no question. But actually the one thing that people seem to lament about the demise of the Atari Mindlink is that it would have, if developed properly, probably had applications for people with disabilities or quadriplegics even to be able to play video games, which I think would have been pretty cool. Yeah. Limited market, obviously, but you know, one that would have been well served by something like this. So it is in a way kind of a shame, A, for the memes, and B, for the people who would actually want to use it.
Would have used it, yeah.
Man.
So Mindlink, alas, we never knew ye. However, we did know the next one, and many of us knew it very well. We're talking about the Mattel Power Glove.
Oh, yes.
I'm so glad I didn't miss this part to tell everybody how angry I am, because I am unfortunately a left-handed person.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yes.
And
discrimination.
Correct. As always. I think the only isn't like the 2600 it was like you could use it either way or something. Am I crazy?
The 5200. We did this.
Oh, maybe.
We did our best controllers episode like 3 years ago. By the way, 3 years ago. And and that
don't go back and listen to that. don't do that.
It's like 20 grit sandpaper. It is super, super rough, man. Not this fine 400 that you're listening to right now. Power Glove, famously or infamously. I mean, virtually everything attributed to the Power Glove is infamously, but infamously not for left-handed people, and no left-handed Power Gloves were ever produced. It was right hand or get the fuck out is what it was.
That's right. And somehow I still became a semi-pro glove ball player. It was truly a story. Watch my 30 for 30.
Well, I'm with Arnie. I'm also left-handed, so...
Yes!
Wow!
Yes.
Let's go, Kelly.
I mean, I was used to the discrimination at that point, so you just got used to doing everything right-handed anyways. It was sad.
That's right.
But you had to do it.
Wow. Had I known, I never would have invited you onto the show.
Oh.
Because now the balance is upset.
That's right. I don't know. Do we know that Jeff is right-handed?
We don't. And if he says he's left-handed, I might have to quit this project completely.
I mean, he's got red hair, so he probably is left-handed.
Oh, yeah, good point. Right? Good point. Science.
Let's go they go hand in hand.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Dr. Ariaga.
Scientifically proven, I'm sure.
So yeah, the Power Glove, the technology behind it actually is super interesting, which is something that I'm probably going to say about almost all of this stuff. It really is actually interesting how people way smarter than me, come up with these ideas that don't quite work in the end. But originally Power Glove, this tech created by Thomas Zimmerman, originally conceived as a way to electronically play music. So basically what he did to start off is he had a tube through each finger in the glove. We're talking like, just picture a straw, like a drinking straw, right? And then what he does is he shines an LED light through the straw that hits a sensor at the other end of the finger. And so if you flex your finger and close it, then it prevents the light from hitting the sensor. And when the light doesn't hit the sensor, then it creates an input, like hitting a key on a keyboard or a button on a controller. So very cool, actually, as the idea, as the idea goes. Originally, this was done in 1982, and when his friend or coworker, colleague Jaron Lanier saw it, they formed a company called VPL Research, and they developed this thing called the Data Glove. The Data Glove then was marketed as, for anything, right? We can use this on computers, to do whatever we want. But it was actually another company, Abrams Gentili Entertainment, and that actually saw the Power Glove and thought, video games, for sure. Did I call it the Power Glove? They saw the Data Glove and thought, wow, we need to make video games with this. Abrams Gentili Entertainment, funnily enough, they were like a toy technology company. Anthony, do you remember the Visionaries toys?
The Knights of Magic and Light? Yes.
I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
I do.
Kelly,
Lefties
do you
sticking
remember?
together. Nope, don't remember that one.
Okay,
Is this like some caveman toy? Like, is this when you guys were beating rocks
How
together?
dare you? No, these were action figures. And they made
a cartoon out of it.
They did.
Had the
What
toy
didn't
and
they
then
make a cartoon out of?
I mean,
That's true.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it. Shitting on our visionaries.
But this shit was dope. It had like this hologram, like chess thing.
Yeah, and if you turn the character, then he becomes either like good or evil.
Yeah.
And, depending on the hologram.
Whoa, the duality of man and shit.
It was like WWE, man. You didn't know who was good, who was bad. They just,
So yeah, Abrams Gentili Entertainment on the cutting edge. First Visionaries, then the Data Glove. But they needed an investor, and they took it to Mattel. And, famously, I guess, Jill Barad, who is the senior VP of product merchandising for Mattel, she's the one who basically kind of brought back Barbie in the early 80s. She's the one who developed the whole Barbie empire. And I think there's a character on The Simpsons that might have been based on her as well. So we're not gonna get into that. We did our Simpsons chat on the break already, but
That's right.
So yeah, basically, Jill Barad picked up the Power Glove and they put on Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. And sadly for her, she didn't realize that you have to actually try really hard not to be able to beat Glass Joe. And so she punched the air with the Power Glove. Of course, Glass Joe went down like a ton of French bread. And she was like, this is amazing. And then Mattel poured all kinds of money into it.
I mean, to be fair, that sounds amazing. Like, if I did that, I would have been like, fuck, we gotta spend $1 billion on this thing.
Yes.
Well, of course. And I mean, when you, Ant, I don't know if you remember, or Kelly, geez, Kelly, it's so hard to tell for sure whether you were, watching these commercials or not. I'm gonna guess not. But, do you remember the commercials for the Power Glove where the dude punches Mike Tyson? He punches into the air with the glove and he hits Mike Tyson, and then we were like, that's it, we have to own this, right?
Oh, yes.
Do you remember these?
I do remember these commercials.
You remember these?
Those 80s commercials, come on. They were all pow and in your face. So, yeah.
Yeah. Kelly, I'm assuming your parents didn't buy you a Power Glove, though.
Oh, heck no. No. Way too expensive, and you're going to grow out of video games, is what they told me. So, don't worry.
You've been throwing it back at your parents your whole life, man. Your whole adult life. You're like, yeah, no Play-Doh mixing? Bam, look at my walls. I'm going to give up video games? Ha, I'm going to own video games. I'm going to conquer it all.
In college, they really wanted me to sell my Earthbound. They really did. Just think if that would have happened.
Wow, you could have. Yeah, I almost wish you had, just so you could rub it in their face and be like, you made me sell this. Look at what it's worth now.
Yeah.
You ruined my life.
No, Earthbound. Life ruined. Yes.
How am I supposed to retire now? So yeah, Mattel ended up releasing it. And in order to reduce costs on the Power Glove, because originally when they were working on the Data Glove, it wasn't straws anymore. Eventually they moved to fiber optic cables and, things that eventually would make the cost of producing a glove somewhere in the $3,000 range. But what they did was they actually replaced the fiber optic cables in the fingers with semiconductive ink, which is really cool, and magnetic sensors as well. Also, I don't know if you guys remember with the glove, it came with 3 sensors that you kind of hook onto your TV, which, by the way, were infamous for falling off the TV all the fucking time.
You had to tape them onto your television. They would not stay on there.
No. But it came with ultrasonic sensors that you hook up to your TV, and then what those did was they actually transmitted inaudible sounds, the glove rather had 2 speakers on it that would transmit inaudible sounds to the sensors that you hooked up to your TV. And then based on how long the audio signal took to reach those sensors is how the sensors would detect where the Power Glove was. Really cool idea. And super, super friggin' hyped. I mean, we all remember seeing this in The Wizard, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Well, that's when it looked extra cool, because I was like, cooler than punching Mike Tyson. I was like, if I could drive Rad Racer by just having one arm up and that seemed epic. I was like, oh, this is really cool.
Yeah. So, sadly though, what we ended up finding out is that the Power Glove actually controlled like ass. And I think most of us knew one kid who had the Power Glove, immediately fell out of love with it, and then everybody in the neighborhood got to try it. At least that's what happened to me. We knew a guy who had a Power Glove, and then everybody borrowed it, and everybody gave it back to him after 3 days. And it's funny because it actually turns out you won't it's amazing actually when they actually measured the time it took for the inputs to all reach the TV and so on. It ended up actually taking 3 times longer than your average button press on an NES controller.
Yeah, the input lag was garbage.
Oh man, unbelievable. And I'm someone who when people talk about input lag these days, I laugh at them. I'm like, look, sorry, but you're not that good at video games. It's not the input lag, it's you.
Yeah.
I'm always the one making fun of people. That said, the input lag on the Power Glove, yikes. That was a rough go.
Yeah, I never got to use it. I've never put on a Power Glove in my life. It's on my bucket list because I'm sure it feels amazing.
Yeah.
On my, inferior right hand.
Right hand.
Anthony, or Arnie rather, accidentally hitting people next to him. Sorry, I'm left-handed.
But my whole thing with the Power Glove was always that, honestly, it looked really complicated.
Yeah.
I looked at this thing and I'm like, why the fuck is there a Casio watch calculator on this thing? What is each button mapped to on the thing? It never looked easy to use.
Yeah.
So I was very oh, this is a really cool idea, but I was also I feel I need a PhD to be able to operate this machinery.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's the thing, it did take a lot of setup, but it did have programmable commands that you could put in. So you won't, man, I don't even know. You talk about Rad Racer. I'd never actually played Rad Racer with it. I did play Punch Out. I played Punch Out for 2 seconds, and I was like, this is terrible. Because out of all the friggin' NES games that you don't want input lag for, Punch Out probably near the top of the list, right? Because Mike Tyson's just going to knock you the hell out.
Yeah.
What I did manage to get it working with was Super Spike V-Ball.
Ooh.
Oh,
I know.
That's a good one.
An interesting pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only interesting in that I tried it with many other games, and that was the only game where I could get some kind of semblance of control, right? Because what I would do is I'd point my hand forward, and then I'd move the player around the court by moving my hand, and then I would map a turbo button to one of my fingers. And so then I would close a finger to power up the spike after jumping, which was totally cheating, by the way. It's like every other NES game where the faster you press the button, the stronger, the faster, etc. Yeah. So any kind of like when you're playing track and field 2, right? If you have turbo buttons in track and field 2, you win every event. You make Usain Bolt look like a tortoise, right? So that's what I did with Super Spike V-Ball. I mapped it to a finger, and then I would just curl my finger, and then suddenly powerful spikes would happen.
Nice.
And that was the only time I got it to work. I don't know.
And you felt like God at that moment in your life.
Yeah, but then I picked up a controller because even still it was still so hard to actually control the characters.
Yeah.
So you got powerful spikes, but then you also got frustrating digs at balls that went nowhere, right?
Yeah, and I'm assuming this is like nigh unusable with any like type of game that requires like a lot of movement, like platformers and so on.
Absolutely unusable. Yeah.
Okay.
They needed, look, the same thing happened to it that is going to happen with a lot of what we're going to talk about, which is that it needed games that were specifically made for it, and it just didn't have them. It had Super Glove Ball, which came out about a year later. And look, I mean, the reason that came out a year later is because they rushed this thing to market. They had, they brought it to Mattel, and this was probably sometime late in the summer, and they said, we need this out by Christmas, and we need it out now. And so they kind of rushed it out. They had no games developed for it. And then, it doesn't really work that well with the actual existing games that were out there. Which, by the way, I think it was Mattel or somebody maybe in Abrams Gentili, but they had like two guys locked in a room programming the Power Glove to work with every single NES game that was released.
Oh my god.
I'm serious, two guys.
To be a fly on a wall, man.
Just
two middle-aged men chain-smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
Just yelling at each other because they can't get like wacky races to work properly or some bullshit.
And one of them is trying to tie the noose, and the other guy's like pulling him away from it. Don't do it, man. It's not worth it.
Well, yeah, because then he'd have to program twice as many games.
Yeah, they wouldn't hire a new one. No way.
Exactly.
No, man, they don't have the budget for that shit.
I'm honestly shocked they got paid employees to do that. You'd figure they'd hire a couple interns for that.
You'd think so, but no, they actually. I think this was pre-intern, before we figured out how to have free labor in the market.
Was this also the time, like, were they still doing, like, was this also the time in offices where, like, you could drink, like, 3 scotches for lunch and be totally normal?
You had to in order to program for the Power Glove,
Or maybe that's what got us the Power Glove.
Maybe.
I dream of the alternate universe where we got Mad Men, but it's Don Draper is the guy who programmed the Power Glove.
So you do a lot of coke in the 80s, and you're like, whoa, you know what'd be really good right now?
So the Power Glove actually did sell really well. It made money for Mattel. I think it sold like 100,000 units or something silly like that. It really blew away expectations, and it was profitable for them. But they discontinued it a year later because a lot of people bought it at first, and then the word got out that it wasn't that great. Sales fell off a cliff, and they're like, you know what? We're going to take our money and run. We're pretty good. And so we've got a whole bunch of Power Gloves out there in the wild that people are using for Instagram posts. And
Yes.
more power to them. I think they're hilarious every time I see them. The Power Glove also, its immediate success did give birth to, some other ideas, some other clones. The Broderbund U-Force.
Yep.
Kelly, Anthony, did you guys ever see this thing?
No, I'm looking at it right now, and
I'm just reminded of it when I was looking at the outline. I totally forgot about this.
I know, I forgot about it too until I started. But I remember
it. Yeah, I remember it. It was definitely one of those things that I saw, and I was like, okay, out of my price range, I can't get nobody to buy me this thing.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Kelly, you didn't know anybody who had this thing by chance?
No, I did not. No, we were poor folk.
And finally, actually, my favorite one was the laser scope from Konami. This ad is phenomenal. It's just a dude with his mouth open and like a scope like attached to his head, like a helmet with like a little extra radial arm over his eye. And the idea, wow, like in theory.
Yeah.
In theory,
it's horrible. In practice, it's even worse. Also,
Pete Davidson on the ad too.
When I saw this ad you put in this outline, my first thought was that I have never seen a more moist individual in my life.
Wow.
Like they misted the shit out of this guy before they took that picture.
It's so intense. But yeah, the laser scope, basically what you do is there's a reticle over your eye, and what you're supposed to do is point the reticle right at the character that you want to move, and then you move the reticle around, and there's a microphone attached to it, And whenever you want the character or spaceship or whatever to fire, you yell, fire. And so, again, in theory, a small child would be like, wow, cool. It's like I'm, flying a plane. Yeah. In reality, the kid's parents just want to murder him because there's a kid in the living room just yelling, fire, 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 like over and over.
Surprisingly, not a lot of these put in movie theater arcades. Not sure why. They did not test well. The market was not ready for them.
Oh, man. Konami Laser Scope. That's just, it's brilliant.
Yeah, I've noticed here that you've forgotten one of my personal favorites, though I don't know if it would actually count. But the rolling rocker, always a fantastic option for me.
What on earth are you talking about?
You don't know what the rolling rocker is? Oh my fucking god!
Kelly, do you know what this is?
No, I've got to go with the right hand people here.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad I'm not alone here.
So the rolling rocker, and feel free to Google image search this thing.
Oh, I will.
I can't do it justice with words. But it's essentially
LJN.
A giant. It is made by LJN. It is.
Yep.
That is not a surprise at all.
Wait. Oh my god. I'm sorry, Arnie, go ahead.
A giant hunk of plastic that you put on the ground and you stand on.
Okay.
In order to move your character, you move the rolling rocker in whatever direction you want your character to move. And now I see your face, and I know what your question is.
Lawyers.
How do
did lawyers
Where
ruin
do I
this?
get one?
No, I know the question that's burning the frontal cortex of your brain is, okay, so how do I hit the A and B button? It's like, excellent question, Paul. What you do is you take a Nintendo controller and you plug it in to the rolling rocker. So you're still using your controller while you are moving the rolling rocker. You're holding the controller that has the D-pad on it, but instead of using that D-pad, you are tilting the rolling rocker in the direction you would like your character to move.
Oh man, I can't believe I missed this. I'm so glad you brought it up.
It was horrendous.
Who thought that was a good idea? That's what I want to know.
But what's even worse is that I typed in rolling rocker because I remember this, Arnie. I remember.
You got the beer, Rolling Rock?
No, yeah, the first thing that comes up. I'm drinking rolling rock on the rolling rocker.
On the rolling rocker.
Oh, nice.
That's a AVGN special from back in the
day. Well, thank you very much for bringing up the rolling rocker. I can't believe I missed that. That's awesome. Anyway, super happy we got to talk about the Power Glove and the rolling rocker and kind of especially the laser scope. We're going to take another break. When we come back, even more excellent ways to control games. All right, everyone, we're back. And before we get to the good stuff, there are a few more, maybe one more, actually not good motion control scheme here. This one's great because it's an idea that I like the idea in theory. There's a lot of potential for silly looking people with it, but as an accurate control scheme, probably not the best thing. The Sega Activator. Anthony, did you know anybody who had this thing?
I know a few friends that used Activator in their hair, but I knew no one that had the Sega Activator.
Because, I'm looking at the Activator, and basically what it is it's 8 pieces of plastic that you connect together to form an octagon.
Hell yeah.
And you stand inside the octagon, and the octagon fires lasers upwards towards your ceiling. And whenever you wave a body part over the laser, then that simulates an input up, down, left, right, A, B, whatever, right?
The lasers are invisible, by the way. This is not going to make your room like the Mission Impossible room or something.
Which, by the way, failed opportunity.
Yeah.
Really.
I agree.
That would have been great.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. Probably parents would have had concerns, but
Lots of blind kids, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, when your little brother stares directly into the activator, he burns his corneas off.
Then he needs the Atari Mind.
the Mindlink. So, in theory, what you're supposed to do is like punch and kick and do stuff to activate inputs. In reality, what ends up happening is you look like a complete doofus because you're like, instead of looking like a badass fighter, you look more like a ballet dancer or somebody who's playing Twister standing up. You're like putting an arm forward here, a foot back there. In the ad picture, there's a guy who this guy is the best. I called him Ken Shamrock.
He's committed.
Anthony,
I would have gone with Steven Seagal personally.
that's exactly what Anthony said, Steven Seagal, and I have to give it up to you guys. Steven Seagal is the correct answer. Steven Seagal Light is standing in the activator. Sorry, not standing, jumping,
floating above it
activator.
gracefully.
Yes, exactly. He's floating in midair while like holding a knee with one hand and pushing outwards a palm strike with his other hand.
And what game is he playing, Paul?
It doesn't matter, dude. It doesn't matter. He's winning. Whatever game he's...
Well, I'm curious because I
3.
think it's one of the Streets of Rage, and I'm wondering if you could even hazard a guess as to what move he is trying to execute in this.
He's doing Axel's flying knee in Streets of Rage 1.
I love it though. I mentioned it on the break.
Oh wait, no, this is Streets of Rage 2. It's Skate. Skate is on the screen. So yeah, he's doing Skate's like running skate kick.
There you
but you'll notice that Skate in the screen there is firmly ground bound. Yep. So I think that this fancy move that Steven Seagal is pulling actually wasn't successful in Streets of Rage 2.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Man.
Honestly,
so, yeah. I mean,
I love everything about this, from like the box to the actual design to the intended use.
Yep.
This is something that could not have existed but for the exact time when it was released.
Absolutely.
Like, right now, if somebody, like with Twitter and shit, people would like shit all over this thing, the company would scrap it like before it even got out the door. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is why I like this time, because somewhere there's a guy that had like too many Xanax the night before and just they pitched him this thing and he was like, yeah, fuck it. I just got to make it to like my 3:30 like massage appointment or something. Sure. Why not?
And then the next day he came into the office and the 32X like was born.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what I really like? If you've presented the box here, and what I really like about this is that like Sega in the 90s was known for like the most balls to the wall, in your face, like advertising, commercials, like they did not give a fuck. And yet for this, arguably, like I would say the most in your face product any company has ever put out. They decide to go with a guy wearing like cargo shorts and like a yellow polo in his socks, like vaguely doing like a medium kick.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit too realistic.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have stuck with Steven Seagal even for the cover of the box.
And like, you know what, Arnie, he's wearing like I guess it looks like a yellow sweater, right?
Oh, yeah. That's what it is.
He's got something, he's got two more layers underneath that.
Yeah, I don't know what the temperature situation is in this room where he's wearing shorts but also three shirts.
It's the lasers, man. You know how he rises.
I count 2 minutes until he turns into the sweaty laser scope guy.
The 90s were a weird time. That's all I can think of.
Fuck, man. This is so
But tell me,
good.
I mean, you look at the box, right? And it's got playable with Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter 2, Eternal Champions. You're
all
like,
lies.
Right? Yeah. In your head, you're like, oh, I could do fireballs.
What's the simplest like input for a move in Street Fighter for like something beyond like a simple punch and or kick?
Probably like a sonic boom,
Yeah.
like hold back for 2 seconds and then forward.
That sounds impossible to do on this.
Pretty much
It is absolutely
anything
impossible
sounds
because, like,
What about Chun-Li's kick? A rapid fast.
oh, maybe that's what the yellow sweater's trying to pull off with that.
But like even a Hadouken, like how the fuck would you ever on this thing?
Man,
You can't. It's impossible, actually. Yeah, like I've watched YouTube videos of people using this thing and trying to do moves in Street Fighter, and like they can barely get Ryu off the ground, let alone throw a fireball. So,
man, can you imagine getting this for Christmas?
best Christmas ever.
You would think so until you opened
Honestly.
it. Yeah.
Right,
Well,
yeah.
see, honestly, here's the thing: is that like the laser scope, like parents would hate that. The
Sure.
activator, million times worse. Like, I gotta move my fucking coffee table out of the way for you to set this thing up that's
Oh
like
my
4 feet
God.
across, and then like probably knock over some like precious moment figurine off the mantle while you're trying to like.
and before every game you play, you have to calibrate it. So you have
Oh,
to stand. Yeah, the activator. It comes. By the way, it comes with like an extreme '90s VHS tape
Oh.
on how to set it up.
Oh,
And in the tape, it's just like a list of stuff you can't do while setting up the activator, because the activator is very sensitive. It is called the activator, right? I'm saying that word so many times it's losing all meaning.
It's losing all meaning.
Yeah. So yeah, like you have to stand still 3 feet away from the activator, wait for 20 seconds for it to calibrate, and then every game you put in, you have to repeat the same thing over and over again. You can't talk to the activator while it's calibrating. You can't smile. Like there's all kinds of things you can't do.
Don't breathe. Don't breathe.
Meanwhile,
No breathing ever.
Meanwhile, I'm just picturing like 3 guys in college like taking bong rips inside of this thing and like
Why is the game working?
All right, we're spending way too much time on the activator. Like,
imagine if your bedroom was like on the 2nd floor. Imagine like how much your parents would hate like hearing you jump around and like slamming into the floor with this thing.
those are parents who those are parents who actually love their kid. If it was my parents, you better believe that activator would be thrown out the window like in 2 seconds.
It would have mysteriously been broken while I was at school or something.
Yeah.
Mysteries abound in that house.
There's definitely like there's different types of guys like in the retro gaming space. There's like your friend who owned a Turbo Duo, your friend who had a Neo Geo, and then like your friend who had a fucking Sega Activator. That guy is a unicorn. Like,
you know why? Because he had no friends.
Activate friendship.
And like the toy, it actually failed. No friends. Moving on
God.
from the activator, I can't believe you spent that much time on that thing.
fuck. So good.
So the activator, so bad that we didn't see any new motion control for about 9-10 years. I think the activator was 94.
You're putting that all on the activator?
I am.
The weight of
wouldn't
all
you?
those sins?
Look at the guy. Look at the yellow sweater, man. Like
He's wearing layers. This isn't realistic, man.
9 years later, we saw the Eye Toy. Sorry, the PSI. No, sorry. The Eye Toy. I'm an idiot. The
right.
Eye Toy for the PlayStation 2. So, Arnie, I've been like, Kelly, have you seen this? Anthony, have you seen
finally
this?
arrived.
Finally.
Your turn is
Arnie,
come.
it's your time.
I fucking loved the Eye Toy when I was
Oh
a
my
kid.
god, I can't believe it!
I loved it so fucking much. It was horrible. And I've talked about this before. I used to go over to this guy's house. My mom had a coworker friend who was married to this guy who was a doctor, and I would go over to their house like every once in a while to hang out and stuff. And he had like everything. Like he had an Xbox, he had a PS2. That's where I played Ring of Red for the first time. That's where I played Knights of the Old Republic for the first time.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he had a fucking Eye Toy. And I played a lot of the original. I think it was just called Eye Toy Play.
Yes.
and I played a bunch of that, and I thought the future was now. Like, I was like, this is it. We've done it. Like, I'm in the game. I have arrived. And then I like tried to play I think there was a game where you like try to keep a soccer ball up in the air as long as you
Yes.
can. like just like at games level shit on this thing. Like,
Yep.
not good, but it blew my mind. But then, because I owned an Eye Toy, I still own an Eye Toy. It's somewhere around here, but I never saw any of the other Eye Toy games until much later. I think at one point when I started collecting video games, I was like, I want to collect every Eye Toy game.
There's a goal.
And I think I own like 3 or 4 of them. Like, I own Anti-Grav, which I bought because I was like, oh, Eye Toy and skateboarding, it's got to be the greatest game of all time.
Recipe for success.
Yeah, I bought it. I think it was like $2 at GameStop when I bought it.
Yeah.
Like, just in the garbage. But there was also an Eye Toy Play 2 and Sega Superstars, which I've never played and I really want to.
That's actually supposed to be the good one. Now, bear in mind that
by the standards of the Eye Toy.
Yeah, and there's like 8 Eye Toy games. I think it was more successful in Europe. They have like 30-something Eye Toy games. But
that tracks.
Yeah, for sure. They're so much more active and better than we are. But in North America, there's like 8 Eye Toy games. And basically they're all kind of variations on Eye Toy Play, the very first one. Probably the best one is the Sega Superstars one, because it takes a lot of the Eye Toy Play concepts, but like you're controlling the monkey ball character or other Sega characters.
From Knights.
Or Knights, yeah. And it's actually executed fairly well.
Funnily
Kelly,
enough,
any experience with this one?
Only experience I have is through my husband, because he had an Eye Toy and he absolutely loved it.
God, he is so cool.
Wow!
Everything
This
you
is
tell
the
me about
first
him.
time I disagree with him.
He is so cool.
No, it's just funny because I can remember he had it before we started dating. And I just remember when we started dating, he's like, "Oh, you've got to try this Eye Toy. It's awesome." And he just had the base game and everything, and he would just spend like an hour telling me all about it. And then I never actually played the game. I just heard about it.
And then you married him?
I know. Weird, huh?
Wow. I fucking wholeheartedly agree with that man. Like, genius.
So the Eye Toy, we've been talking about it. We didn't mention actually what it is, but basically it's a webcam for the PS2. It tracks your movement and it shows you on the TV screen. And so when you're trying to keep up the soccer ball, basically what you're doing is you're waving your arms around. Yeah. And every time your arm on the screen hits the soccer ball, it stays in the air. Now, of course, we all thought back then that this meant unlimited options for entertainment. But again, in reality, the soccer ball bouncing was about as good as it would get.
It was the best game on the thing.
Yeah.
Also, strangely enough, I was recently out game hunting with Mike Doucette, friend of the pod, and I ran into a silver Eye Toy camera, which I had never seen before. It looked like I just assumed it was like for the PlayStation Slim or something. It was like version 2.0, but I'd never seen this thing before. And I've always really liked the design of the Eye Toy camera. Much like the multi-tap, like Sony for the PS2 was like obsessed with making all the accessories look like the PS2. So they all had those weird ridges on them.
Yeah, no, the silver Eye Toy camera there's nothing new with it. It's just a silver version of the same thing. So I'm sorry to disappoint you. I actually now wish I had lied and said it was awesome. But
so you
alas,
can continue
here
to be 100% with my husband. I know.
Guys, a few years later, we're finally getting to the good stuff. Success. It's time for the Nintendo Wii 2006. Here we go. The Wiimote. Really cool piece of technology. It uses a combination of a 3-axis accelerometer and an infrared light sensor bar. This is really cool for various reasons. First of all, the accelerometer. Basically what an accelerometer is that it tracks fast movements, such as punching, right? So basically what they do is they kind of have like a little wafer inside of a little enclosure, and then when you move the enclosure, there's a sensor that measures how much pressure the wafer is applying to it. So imagine like when you're accelerating in a car and your body's getting pushed back, the accelerometer is what's measuring the force of you getting pushed back. So that's how that works. That's pretty cool. The infrared light sensor was awesome. Basically the sensor bar, which we're all familiar with, the Wiimote, or sorry, the Wii comes with like a little bar. You put it on your TV or in front of your TV. And what that does is it sends out infrared lights at the Wiimote. And as you move the Wiimote, it triangulates the Wiimote's position based on where the lights from the sensor are hitting.
Yeah.
This I thought was hilarious because then I saw a video. Basically, you can use any kind of infrared light. This includes candles. And so some dude got 2 tea lights and set them up approximately a foot apart, which is about the width, length, whatever, of a Wii sensor bar, and it worked perfectly. He had 2 candles being used as his Wii sensor bar. I cannot wait to try this.
That man's name, Shigeru Miyamoto.
So that's basically how the Wiimotes work. All the data is transmitted via Bluetooth from the Wiimote to the system, and it combines both the infrared and the accelerometer to detect where the Wiimote is. Same thing in the nunchuck. The nunchuck also has an accelerometer in it. So yeah, Nintendo, man. Nintendo's betting really big on this. The system is relatively underpowered. I would call it a glorified GameCube.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have HD, which it's the contemporaries, the 360 and the PS3, they all had HD.
Yep.
But,
even DVD had HD by that point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Super, you guys all remember, man, super popular with casual gamers, getting people up off the couch.
Yep.
Like Ant, the Wii.
I'll never forget just the nights that we played with friends, just playing bowling. Bowling was just the best.
Everybody stands for bowling. Kelly, what was... Look, we're going to go to Wii Sports here. Let's not kid ourselves. Like, the Wii Sports goes hand in hand with this... Oh, Arnie, you disagree? Not Wii Sports, or do you disagree with the bowling?
No, not bowling. Not bowling.
Oh.
Tennis all the way.
Oh,
tennis number one. Tennis number one.
I have to split decision and say bowling myself, so... Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is nobody says boxing.
I loved boxing, actually.
I know, but I know the boxing was fun, but it wasn't as good as the tennis.
No. The tennis was arguably the greatest multiplayer experience of that generation.
Yeah, it really was. Although with the boxing, oh my god, the boxing. I remember, this is like only loosely related to the Wii almost, but I remember going to a buddy's party and... the party was winding down. Most people had left. It was just me, him, his girlfriend, and some other girl, another friend of theirs. And we were playing Wii boxing. And it was fucking epic, right? Like we're drunk, we're punching the air, we're knocking each other out. It was great, right? End of the night.
God. If only our forefathers could see us now.
So a few months later, he has another party, and I see the girl there who we were doing the Wii boxing with. And I was like, hey, Jen, how's it going? And she's like, do I know you? And I'm like, yeah, it's Paul. And she's like, no, we've never met before. And I'm like, no, we have. And then I went into detail on how we played Wii boxing. And this is what happened. This is the time that it happened. This is the game we were playing. These are the jokes we made. And she just looks at me stone-faced. She's like, no, that didn't happen. And I'm like, okay. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Damn.
Because what else are you going to say to that?
Yeah.
That's a mad respect for that person.
Yeah, in a weird way.
Yeah.
In a weird way, yeah. Sticking to your guns can't possibly be wrong. I'm
just really like manifesting her reality onto the world.
Yes. 2 for Wii bowling, 2 for Wii tennis. My goodness.
We're gonna have to poll the audience on this one.
We're gonna have to do a...
Yeah.
But
if you would like to vote, please donate $5 to the Region Free Gamers Patreon and let us know.
Actually, what you can do is you can go to Linktree/Region Free Gamers.
There you go.
Join our Discord, and then tell us which Wii Sports game is the best. And I'll bet you a whole bunch of people show up and say baseball.
They're going to say golf. 100% going to say golf. It's going to make me so mad.
Yeah, listen, man, that the bowling was the one game that I could get everybody to play, and everybody was just having a blast. Like, we're just passing the Wiimote around, and it was just like so much fun. The tennis and the boxing I could play, but like it was just like a one-on-one thing. It was like, the boxing was hilarious because me and my boy would play that thing, and that was a workout. We were just
you would sweat at the end of that.
But I mean that was just that whole Wii Sports thing was just the system seller, man. Like. Not many people cared about any other games, but the Wii did have some great games that they incorporated that made proper use of the motion control. So not just like these tech demos, but man, like, you know, like you put on the list, like Mario Kart was just great with the motion controls.
Yeah.
Especially if you had the wheel attachment. Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
Which usually that kind of stuff doesn't really work. Proper, right? But it worked so good with the Wii.
Oh, I finally got to live out the Rad Racer fantasy in Mario Kart.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I was finally there.
Very true.
Yep.
You know what I remember from using the Wiimote in a way that I never thought, or that's just not possible with a controller? Do you guys remember Rayman, the Raving Rabbids?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I've never played it.
There was a mini game. It's a collection of mini games, basically. And there was a game where the Rabbids were singing together as a choir. And one of the Rabbids would start singing off key and sounded terrible. And there's a floating hand on the screen. And what you do is you swing the Wiimote to the left and it smacks the rabbit in the face. The one who's singing poorly. And that was like an hour of just laughing because we just kept slapping these Rabbids over and over for singing off key. It was not bad at all.
I distinctly remember before I got my Wii, I had a friend who had gotten it, and they were playing WarioWare Smooth Moves.
I was just about to say,
And I believe there's a game in that where you have to do yoga poses.
Yes.
And God, that was one of the most brilliant things I'd ever seen in my life. I was like, this is so funny. Everything about this is hilarious.
Yeah. The WarioWare game for the Wii was perfect. It was a perfect marriage of like that concept, man. And also the Wii was the first time people started really trying to do fitness with the video games with the Wii Fit.
Yeah.
Having a scale. Yeah. That didn't work for
clearly
anyone.
somebody's forgetting about the Family Fun Fitness pad.
I read an article recently about how the Fitboard, the Wii Fitboard, created a generation of people with eating disorders.
Oh yeah, because everyone was overweight.
Yep.
What?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I do remember this because it would tell you, like, no matter what your weight was, it'd be like, you're
obese.
fat.
I would get on and it'd be like, you're obese.
Yes.
You're gonna die.
Yep.
And my Wii character didn't look nowhere near what I looked like in real life. It was just like,
didn't they make your character like
like they made him like,
That's right.
Man, I'm glad I didn't have to endure that. I really am.
I only played the Wii Fit once. My girlfriend at the time owned it, and I did the ski jumping game. And it was fun. But I was like, wow, I would never play this again for more than like once.
Question. The ski jumping game. Did you like step off the board and then your guy jumps and then you cheat, wait a few minutes and then get back onto the board to land?
Oh, that would have been so fucking smart. No, I did not.
You actually just jumped?
I didn't even think. No, you weren't even supposed to jump. You were just you crouch down and then you sort of like spring up. Like, you look like an absolute fool when you're doing it.
Oh man.
Anybody break a TV?
No.
No, I didn't.
No.
Remember
Did everybody always buckle up for safety and put their wrist strap
Never.
on?
Not even once.
You were living dangerously.
Yeah.
I was, yeah.
Rebellious
shit.
life.
Holy fuck.
Only
is that like
people's houses.
is that like when you cut the tag off a mattress? Like, it's illegal, but nobody ever gets arrested for it.
That's exactly what it's like.
It's not illegal unless you get caught and that controller goes through the
Exactly.
TV. Yeah.
Police bust in while you're sleeping on the mattress. Oh man. But yeah, that's the Wii. That's the first successful one. And you know what? There's no secret about why. Like, it was actually fairly accurate for the most part.
Oh yeah.
Like the reason that ended up failing, because like, I mean, look, in spite of how accurate it was, and it was pretty accurate, there's still nothing quite as accurate as pressing a button or using a D-pad, right? So what you ended up having was a lot of players that just, okay, yeah, it's fun. It's fun swinging this thing around, but I'm actually just going to use the controller now and play by myself. Sadly, you can't have a system that is just multiplayer. You kind of have to have the single player experience as well.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they did the same thing with the Wii U, underpowered system, motion controls, but by then the gimmick is over, and the Wii U ends up being probably the worst video game system of all time, or so I'm going to tell Chris Copleen of the Retro Hangover podcast.
Well, the thing about it too is you can see in the Wii, like the later releases, a lot of them have like, you can use a classic controller with this, you can use a GameCube controller with this, like they give you options. And so the problem is now there's a lot of games on the Wii that I want to play, but now I'm used to more precise motion controls. And so going back to a game like, I don't know, Curse Mountain or something that like only lets you use motion controls is rough. Like, I'm just like, damn it. But I can't play this game anywhere else.
Yeah, exactly. I would say one of the games that have aged best, at least in my opinion, that involve the motion controls are anything that involve using the Wiimote as a gun. Right? I think there's a House of the Dead game.
Two and three, I think. There's a bunch of Resident Evil, like light shooter, light gun games.
Yes.
Resident Evil 4, apparently the Wii port is the best port of that game. I don't know if that still holds up with the PS4 and so on, but of that generation, that's allegedly the best one with if you had the gun and stuff.
Yeah. I've played Dead Space Extraction recently and Sin and Punishment.
Sin and Punishment is supposed to be excellent.
And those are phenomenal, man. Like, those are very playable now.
Yeah, it was a great system for those light gun games. Because they dropped a bunch of them on there. I know there was like a few Sega games they dropped on there, like Gunblade and stuff like that, and like just perfect on that system. But at the end of the day, like you guys were saying, though, like it's the control stuff was great, but then at the end of the day, you're left with still an outdated system at that time. You're still, like you said, you're dealing with GameCube plus graphics. Already on PS3, Xbox 360, so it's kind of like
the backwards compatibility was nice though.
Yeah.
GameCube until they took it out in the later ones.
I know.
Oh crap, was that like the Wii Mini or whatever?
There was one iteration before that didn't have it as well, because that's the one I had. It didn't have the backwards compatibility with the GameCube, and then they made it smaller and took away everything.
Yeah. Well, the red GameCube has backwards compatibility, and that's the one I have.
Oh, okay.
The red Wii, red GameCube.
That's so funny. I thought that was the one where they took it out.
Yeah, me too.
Nope. Works for me.
All right. That debate has been put to rest. Thank you, Arnie.
It got heated there for a second. I will provide one fact on this podcast every episode.
What I found also interesting for the Wiimote is how many stupid peripherals they came out for it. So for like the
oh my god,
the Mario Kart, they had a $20 pack of 2 plastic steering wheels that did absolutely nothing for you, except it was plastic. And then for the gun games, they had a plastic gun that didn't add any buttons or any accuracy, but there it was for you. And they sold like crazy. I couldn't believe it.
They did.
Yeah.
I want to mention 2 things. One, thank God I never have to look because they did this. I know Best Buy had this, but like basically anywhere had this, where it's like, buy this $20 pack of literal garbage where it's like, here's a golf club, here's a tennis racket, here's a fishing rod, and it's like garbage. But let's talk about, I think it's called Babysitting Mama.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my Lord. Paul, do you know what I'm about to say? Google.
No, I don't.
Google
I can't wait.
Babysitting Mama for the Wii. Google it right now. So, as you're doing that, I'm going to vamp here. So, Babysitting Mama was a spin-off of the classic Cooking Mama franchise. in where you have to babysit a baby.
Sure.
But they created a external peripheral for the Wiimote.
No.
Which is an actual baby.
Well,
Oh my god. That is so...
Oh, I'm looking at it right now.
And so I think, Kelly, maybe you would know, you have to like shove the Wiimote in the back of the baby or something.
Yes.
Like you put it inside the baby.
Wow.
What happens if you drop the baby, do you win?
It's like
Depends if
high
it's you're the
school
father.
health class all over again.
Yeah, it's like the baby cries and like I think it like vibrates and stuff. I don't even know. I've always like if I ever found one, I'd buy it immediately.
Wow, this is incredible. This, ladies and gentlemen, the Wiimote.
Yes.
Like, if there was one reason,
This was the system seller. This was it. This was it, man.
You too can hold a small crying child. It's amazing.
A small anime child in your arms.
Oh my god, that's great.
But it was great because I've definitely seen more than one YouTube video where somebody finds one of these at Goodwill and it's just like mangled to shit and like dirty and disgusting.
Man, that's amazing.
I did not know. This is hilarious.
Oh, it's so
I know.
good.
This has made this episode like all worth it. I mean, this and Steven Seagal and the Activator, obviously, but
Obviously, yeah.
wow. Okay. That's a great time for us to take a break. So when we come back, we'll talk about a few more successful iterations of motion controls, a few sadder stories, and where we are right now and into the future.
I'm moving on. I'm so happy that it's over now. The pain is gone. I'm putting on my shades to cover up my eyes. I'm jumping in my ride. I'm heading out tonight. I'm solo. I'm Han Solo. I'm Han Solo. I'm Han Solo. Solo. Picking up my plaster, putting it on my side. I'm jumping in my Falcon, whoopie at my side. I'm solo. I'm Han Solo. I'm Han Solo. I'm Han Solo. Solo.
All right, everyone, we're back. And we are back now with the latest generation of motion controls, starting with the Microsoft Kinect. Now, I remember seeing the Kinect and thinking, this is incredibly intrusive because it had to come with the Xbox One.
Yep.
But not all of us think this way. I think, Kelly, you may have enjoyed it.
Yes, I greatly enjoyed the Kinect. I actually followed it from before the Xbox 360 version came out, back when it was still known as Project Natal. And that's what...
Project Natal for some people like me.
Yes. There was a huge debate at Best Buy which way we should go with it, Natal or Natal. I thought Natal sounded much more sophisticated, so that's what we went
Natal
with.
What
sounded like you were giving
sociopath
birth.
said Natal? Wow. Project Placenta.
This is getting...
That was the DLC for Babysitting Mama.
I'm trying to remember if they made a babysitting game for... I don't think so, but yeah, I followed the Kinect the whole way. A lot different... They had a lot of ideas that they just never seemed to implement. I remember one of the big things that they talked about in their previews was there was this video of a woman scrolling through all this clothing, and she could just pick the clothing and it would show up on her body and you could just see perfectly how it would fit you and everything else. And that never seemed to actually come to light, but it was a nice idea.
That's a clever idea.
Yes.
I never heard about this.
Yeah, but I can remember...
I didn't either. That actually sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I wish they kind of would have put it out, shopping from your home, and it was supposed to have like connections to online realtors and everything else so you could actually buy the clothing, but unfortunately that never came out.
I could see what I would look like with Gucci like shirts and Rolexes on my arms.
Oh, yes. This is an opportunity for hilarity. I'm actually genuinely disappointed this never happened.
Versace shirt? Why not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's my outfit for Diddy's white party.
But yeah, the Microsoft Kinect, like you said, originally Project Natal. It's actually named after, and this is how I know it's Natal. It's named after the Brazilian town that Microsoft's hardware incubation manager, Alex Kipman, is from, which I thought was a funny thing. Natal also Portuguese for Christmas, so everybody who got a Kinect, it was like Christmas.
Hey.
Yep. And definitely inspired by the Wii, because we had virtually like every hardware manufacturer now. When I say virtually every, it makes it sound like there's a plethora. Sony and Microsoft were influenced by the Wii. Like, that's basically what happened. So the Kinect was kind of like their Microsoft's their attempt to capitalize on the success of the Wii. So actually, again, really cool tech here. It uses a motion and depth detecting camera. So it's first developed by PrimeSense. This is a tech company out of Israel, and developed in 2006. Eventually, Microsoft got wind of this, licensed it, and started developing it. And the development stories from this thing are actually very interesting. Richard Velasquez, I think he was the senior product planner for Microsoft. He actually had to travel to houses across the world that had Wiis in them and see how people set up their Nintendo Wii, so that he could see what worked, what didn't, and then what would make the Kinect work or not work, right? So, like, did you have to move your coffee table to set up the Wii? Where did you set up the sensor? Because the Kinect has a camera, right? So where are people going to put their cameras? So yeah, he's visiting. It's almost like a JRPG where you just walk into random people's houses.
So this guy's just like knocking on people's houses and it's like, have you heard the good word of Microsoft today?
Yeah.
Like,
You have a white shirt and a black tie, short sleeve.
I just see shit like that. It's, oh God. I don't know, Richard Velasquez at all. I'm going to assume he gets paid more than I do.
No question.
To then charter a plane or buy plane tickets and coach to random countries, hire interpreters and rent cars to go to random people's houses to be like, oh, I see that you had to move this love seat 3 feet to the left to set up. How does that make you feel?
See, but you laugh. But that's actually one of the things that ended up in the Kinect. Like,
yeah, I'm sure it did.
Originally he was like, you know what? We can't have people moving coffee tables, because eventually what happens is they just stop using it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why the Kinect has the little motor in it that moves the camera so that it can detect where you are, right? Not a cheap piece of tech. Like, I can't remember what the number was. I think it was like $1 per unit to have that tech in there, which sounds like nothing. But when you've sold 10 million Kinects, $1 per Kinect actually makes a pretty big difference to the bottom line.
I'm just trying to picture like this man knocking on some old lady's house and being like, I've heard you have a Wii in there, and her trying to shut the door and him like jamming his foot in it, forcing his way in.
Show me your Wii, old woman! So yeah, the device eventually, when it was released, it had depth technology. So, it has like a sort of picture of your hand, and then depending on the size of your hand, whether you move it forward or backward, it can tell where it's moving. Skeletal tracking and voice recognition, which, I don't know, man, I always thought that was hilarious, because I go to visit my sister, and they were on the Xbox One, like, immediately, right? Back when the Kinect was bundled in. And I'd go to my sister's basement, and my brother-in-law would be like, Xbox, turn on.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
it was the coolest shit.
Yeah.
It was.
I thought
really
it was
cool.
weird, dude. I thought it was weird.
No, the thing that I thought was weird. The thing that I thought was really weird, and the reason I kind of never got on board with it, and I think this, Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this was implemented later, but I think with the Xbox One, the Kinect was always on.
Yes. Yes.
That, I was like, fuck no. Get that out of my house.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a problem with it. And the fact that it was always on also, it took up processing power. So you had processing power that should have been going towards making games run optimally. But instead, because the Kinect was connected all the time, you had games that just didn't perform as well as they did on the PS4.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, a little bit of a problem there. But on the bright side, we got to talk to our Xbox and freak out our visitors.
Yes.
So
If you set it up properly, it did work. rather well.
Yeah.
So, and they started
Yes.
because of the forced integration with the Xbox One in the beginning, all the apps had to use it. So you could try to browse Netflix, anything you wanted to with it. I didn't like the forced integration with the games though, because you had games like Forza that would implement where if you turned your head, the screen would move. And it was just like, wait, I don't want that.
Which makes no sense because you're not even looking at the screen.
Yeah.
You got to tell somebody else, like, what are you saying there as I turn my head? Is anybody coming?
Wow, it's beautiful.
Look at the scenery.
Man, that really could use some testing, I think. I think that was an opportunity for more testing.
Well, the problem is Kelly didn't have the Kinect branded mirror that you're supposed to hold up so you can see the screen.
Of course.
Oh.
No, but I spent.
I mean, it was a good idea. I mean, Microsoft though they throw everything at you all at once and they just flood people's brains with stuff, and they're like, I can't take it all, so I'm not getting an Xbox. But like it was like kind of like the first Alexa kind of thing,
Yeah.
If they would have went along that route, they probably would have been like way better with the Kinect, as opposed to.
Is that your dog? Is your dog loving the Kinect?
The kids are coming in and the dog's barking and
Big Microsoft fan. I love it.
And I did like the way the Kinect would interface with the Xbox, like the guide, like if you have the TV guide and stuff like that. So you could just kind of be like Xbox, turn to this channel, that. It was cool tech. It was just too much. It was just a lot.
Yeah.
And like you said, man, if it's that's all gamers care about. If it starts eating up processing power, forget it, man. They don't want any part of it.
Yeah, you gotta be into it. Like if you're really into it and you dig into it and you like set it up the right way and you figure all the things out, it works great. But for most people, it was like, oh, it didn't turn on the first second I told it to. Now I've thrown it out my window and I'm
also a bit of a troubleshooting problem if you weren't like a lanky nerdy white guy, because those are the people who developed it. So if you were like a pregnant woman, it became really difficult to like turn around and for the Kinect to detect who you are. Or if you were like apparently really tall women had an issue with it, because most of the testers were about the 5'4" or 5'1" to 5'7" range, and then
the optimal height for men, by the way. Just as somebody who is 5'4", I can confirm, having lived my life, no better height than that.
Well, dude, like plane trips are just a joke. Yeah. I'm hitting my knees on nothing.
Exactly.
But if you're the captain of the Yukon women's basketball team, then the Kinect might be a problem for you.
I see.
Sadly.
Huskies.
So, yeah, undefeated in the NCAA, but defeated by the Kinect.
Yep.
But, successful at first.
The motor on the
Kinect
just wearing up and like gets stuck and can't go any higher than that.
But yeah, the Kinect, pretty successful at first, sold faster than any peripheral ever. It sold 10 million units in virtually no time.
Holy shit.
But unfortunately, discontinued in 2017. Kelly, are we really sad about this?
I actually really, really am. I am one of the few people. I still have my Xbox Kinect hook up to my Xbox One. I had to, because I have a newer Xbox One, I actually had to, they had made a cord, because they stopped, they stopped having it so you could plug it right into the Xbox, because once they decided it was discontinued, they wanted it out of their face and never wanted to talk about it again. So I actually had to order the cable to get it to hook up to my Xbox One, which you could only find on the Microsoft stores. So, and they discontinued that. So when I heard that, I had to rush to a Microsoft store. There's one in Phoenix, and I had to grab that before it was gone forever. And I think now...
Before the mad rush of Kinect fans trampled.
Yeah.
Just becoming a person who still runs like Windows, like XP, because they think it's the best one.
But
nah, man, that's NT, baby. They're doing NT still.
Windows Millennium, baby.
Yeah, for me, the Xbox, especially on the Xbox One, it was all about fitness. I didn't want to have a gym membership, so they had this app that was called Xbox Fitness. It had a bunch of free workouts that you could do, and because the Xbox One the Kinect for that one could actually track your heart rate and did a lot better job with like your movement and everything else. It could track in the corner. You could see how many calories you were doing. It could see how much of a workout you were putting in. So it'd scale you there, say, hey, you're not doing much. Maybe you should move more, that type of thing. And you could get downloads for this Xbox Fitness that were Beachbody workouts. So your P90X, there was
Your Insanity?
Insanity
Yeah.
was on there as well. And they made specific programs for the Kinect. So there was a P90X for Kinect, and it was specific workout for it. And unfortunately, because you would pay $60 and you could play it as much as you wanted to, but when they decided to shut down the service, those workouts are gone forever.
I didn't know that. I didn't even know they had those workouts like that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so
Dude, those workouts are for real.
yeah.
Thankfully, we can still get Billy Blank's Taibo Boxing Boot Camp on DVD.
Always a silver lining, man.
That's
Always a
right.
silver lining.
I have it on VHS. Thank you.
You know there's a laser disc of that somewhere. Some guy owns like...
Yeah, and it was like right after that app closed down that Beachbody started to do their streaming. So I was like, okay, I see where this went to.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Microsoft had something there, man. They were kind of, you know, first to get to a lot of the stuff that we see now that we just take for granted, you know?
Yeah.
Like you got an Alexa in every room, and it's like, oh man, if they would have stuck it out, but you know, whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I am curious about a specific game, Kelly, and I'm wondering if you've played it, because I saw it everywhere, and it was the one Kinect game that I was like, I really want to play this, but I can't justify getting a Kinect for it, and it was Rise of Nightmares. Did you ever play that?
That one I did not play. I played like...
Are you aware of this one, Paul?
No, I've never heard of this.
It's like a horror Kinect game. The cover of it is wild. But I don't know what the actual gameplay is. I was just like, horror on the Kinect. Like, this sounds intriguing.
It does. It does sound intriguing. It's too bad none of us have played it.
I know.
So, not the best segment of the pod.
Well, Kelly was my one and only hope. I thought she had like a complete Kinect collection.
Close.
There was... What was the... Oh, Dance Central. Oh,
Dance
man.
Dance Central was excellent.
Those were the ones where I was always like, I would play this.
Yeah, that one was
sure.
good. And that was on
Dance
the 360.
Central was very good.
Yes.
360 was really good.
They made 3 for the 360, and then there was one download only on the Xbox One that basically was just all the DLC from the 360 repackaged.
Yep.
So,
and there was the best one, which was the Star Wars one. Which if you haven't seen, if you are listening to this podcast right now and you haven't seen, I think it's called like Galaxy Dance Off or something.
Yes. Now that one I have played
right now. It's there was a Kinect Star Wars game, and it had a bunch of games on it, like a bunch of mini games and stuff. And one of them is a dance game where where they took popular like songs at the time and redid them as Star Wars song. So my favorite was always I think it was Riding Solo. They redid as like with Han Solo. So I think it says I'm Han Solo instead of Riding Solo.
Oh,
it does.
It's
God.
so good. And then obviously they have like avatars of Han Solo like doing the whole dance with you, and he's backed up by like stormtroopers or something.
Damn it, I might have to get a Kinect.
The dancing
so
is probably the best mini game on there.
Yes, all the other ones are garbage.
People would always like, that was the demo that was set up at Best Buy for probably a year for the Kinect. And you would just always have people like swinging their arms with lightsabers the entire time.
Damn, man.
Oh, so
wow,
good.
between this and Babysitting Mama, like
I'm gonna get
these episodes always make my wallet a little bit lighter.
My eBay spending is gonna be a little weird when Hannah sees this baby that arrived in the mail.
So finally, after the Microsoft Kinect, we're now into the modern era, which is the era of the gyroscope, which is what we find in the PS4, PS5, and Joy-Cons, and so on. Basically, So a gyroscope, for those of you who don't know, think of a spinning top. Now, if you have a spinning top like on a piece of string, you've probably seen like people with tops on a string. You can move the string all over the place, but the top always stays level. So by measuring everything that's around the spinning top relative to it, we can then measure an amount of motion. And unlike with an accelerometer or any other, motion sensing aid, it can actually accurately measure pitch, yaw, and roll, which are like aircraft terms. But, for example, like, I don't know, Kelly, who's, aside from your husband, who's like the hottest guy you've ever seen?
Putting me on the spot, I don't know. It's got to be my husband. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's for me, it's Jason Momoa. Personally.
I'm going to go with Kelly's husband because personally I think he's dreamy. But so imagine your husband is like walking by you to your right and he's wearing some nice tight jeans. So that would be the yaw axis, right? You can like turn your head to the side to follow him in that sweet, sweet. Anyway, so
You need a minute, Paul?
now let's say your husband is lying on the couch like George Costanza, like doing like a picture pose, right? But you need to kind of tilt your head to get a better look because lying sideways is not, the best thing. That's your roll axis. So you're kind of moving your head, you're rolling
Like
it to the side to
head.
get a... Exactly. Kelly, is this going to result in a romantic evening? Am I...
Maybe. We'll find out.
Oh, yes. I'm so happy to be a facilitator.
Somebody's ordering baby... what is it? Babysitting Mama.
By the way, I don't want to take us too far off course, but I have found the track list for Star Wars Dance Connect, and I'd like to give you the highlights because some of these they just use the same name as the song. But there is Blaster Proof, which is LaRue's Bulletproof, if you've ever heard that song.
Yes.
Oh, dear.
There is Empire Today, which is YMCA.
Man, this is so good.
There is Hologram Girl, which I don't know if you could guess is Gwen Stefani's Holla Back Girl.
Oh, no.
There is probably personal favorite, besides I'm Han Solo, which is number one with a bullet. There is Kashyyyk, which is Jamiroquai's Canned Heat.
Oh, my God. I don't understand how this both is off-putting and making me want it more. This is the magic of the Force, obviously.
And then there's two more. There's Princess in a Battle, which
Genie in a Bottle.
Can you? Yes, it is Genie in a Bottle. And there is honestly vying for like the coveted third spot. There is We No Speak Huttese. Which, if you could ever guess what that song is, like, I'll give you a month's worth of our Patreon.
I cannot figure this out.
We No Speak Americano. Which...
Oh boy. Well, Arnie, thank you for that. Thank you.
That was it. God, that game was so good.
To finish up my sexy description of the gyroscope.
Yes.
Because we weren't quite done.
Oh,
There is one more axis we can now measure, and that's the pitch axis. Kelly, imagine your husband now is in a Superman costume, and he literally flies above your head, and you have to tilt your head up to get a look at him as he flies over you. That is the pitch axis, and that's what the gyroscope does. It can measure all these different axes, axi, whatever.
Axes.
That previous motion controls actually couldn't do. So, now, like nowadays, this is pretty much the standard. We actually found it first, weirdly enough, on the Game Boy Advanced. WarioWare Twisted in October of 2004, and then a month later they released Yoshi Topsy Turvy. And these games, WarioWare Twisted, for example, there's a bunch of mini games, and you tilt the Game Boy Advance, obviously holding the cartridge, which has a gyroscope in it. You tilt it around in order to control the mini games.
WarioWare Twisted. excellent game.
Yeah,
It really is.
So
Very good. And one thing that kind of blew my mind, because when I got it, I had an SP. And so I was worried that because the SP, you put the cartridges in the bottom, I was like, oh, it's going to be upside down. It's going to fuck the whole game up. No, works just fine on the SP.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? I actually thought it would completely mess it up.
That's what I thought too, but it works perfectly normal.
Man, Nintendo. Way to go. So we also saw it attached on some DS cartridges. Activision had an Activision motion pack that they used with the Tony Hawk DS game. So yeah, a little bit there, but mainly we're talking about controllers used in the PS3 6-axis, but not as good in the 6-axis. It had an accelerator. It had an accelerometer in one section and a gyroscope in the other. They kind of worked independently, and it wasn't quite as accurate as what they would eventually get with the DualShock 4, which kind of combined both the accelerometer and gyroscope into one unit. Same thing with the Joy-Cons, and of course the PS Move as well. So the PS Move, I think, is kind of where we're moving into the future, so to speak, with this, because so this is built on the Eye Toy platform, and what it does is it combines the gyroscope and the accelerometer in the Move controllers, but it also has a glowing orb on each end of the Move controller, and the Eye Toy camera, which has now been repurposed by Sony along with the Move controllers, actually detects how big the glowing orbs on your controllers are, depending on whether you're moving them forwards or backwards. So when you combine gyroscope, accelerometer, and camera, then you've got some pretty accurate stuff going. And then eventually that gets repurposed into the PSVR, and we have a whole new era of VR games that are using this tech. And I don't know about you guys, but like, that's, to me, seems like the most natural place for motion controls. I've always felt like with motion controls, you see it on a TV and it's not quite that immersive, but when you got a VR helmet on and with your controller, you're like pushing buttons on the bridge of the Enterprise or shooting stuff in Res or whatever, or Beat Saber, like moving the sabers around, which is the coolest thing. I think that's where we're now going to kind of start seeing a turning point. If we didn't already with the Wii, one could consider the Wii the turning point. I don't know. Arnie, what do you think?
I agree with you. I mean, I think as a fan, as a supporter of the PSVR, I think it is the best use I've had of motion control so far because of everything you just said. Like it includes the immersion factor with the helmet. But the PS Move controller is really, like, Sony really turned it around on that. Kind of bullshit that they're trying to charge you $100 for these now.
I know, right?
Considering they were dirt, like, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, however long that was. But they're really good. Like, they function very well. I've had, minimal issues with them in, like, PSVR games I've played. And I think it is where, like, the direction that we're gonna go moving forward.
I think so too. Yeah. Kelly, what do you think?
VR. Unfortunately for me, I can't do VR. I'm that 2% of the population that has the motion sickness from VR. So. And
you're left-handed?
Yeah, I'm just way out there, right? But VR, it's still a very interesting technology, and I can't wait to see more of it. Hopefully, maybe they'll come out with something that I can use, because I don't know, maybe in a few years we'll be like the anime Sword Art Online, where it's just full dive and using your brain.
Yeah, and that is probably like the number one problem that they're tackling, because I have the same issue you do. I don't think it's 2%. I don't think we're that weird. And I still do play VR games. I just can't play them all. Like some of them are just like, oh my god, they're brutal.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a problem that they're really trying hard to tackle via, frame rate changes and so on and so forth. But I don't know if they're ever going to quite solve that one. That's too bad. You're missing a few things, but at the same time, like, I mean, you look at the size of our backlogs, and it's like, maybe it's for the best that we can't use VR.
What's funny for me too is that a couple years ago, Dance Central actually came out with a VR game as well. But it was before there was a wireless headset. So I was really wanting to try that out and see how it worked when you had to have it plugged in, and here you are dancing around.
Yeah. Man, I can't wait for those wireless VR headsets. I mean, I know we have them now, but I'm talking about like on the PlayStation, not on PC.
Just Dance actually does a really good job on PS4.
Really?
Yeah, because you basically do the same thing you do with the Wii, which is they make you hold one of the Move controllers in your hand while you're dancing, and that's how it tracks like your position and whatnot. But it works fairly well.
Cool, man. Well, maybe that's something to look at, because I haven't used the PSVR that much lately. Every once in a while I'll bust it out, but I'm always looking for an excuse.
Oh, I have bought so many VR games.
I know.
I think the latest one was Paranormal Activity.
Ooh.
So I'm very excited about that.
Yes.
Yeah, that is actually kind of exciting.
Yeah. No, there's like a little niche like corner of people still like putting out some VR stuff that is pretty good. Unfortunately, I didn't get in early enough to scoop up the like expensive shit. So like Job Simulator and I think one of those Rick and Morty games is like really expensive too.
Yeah.
And I think there's been at least one limited run PSVR game.
I believe
yes, if not more.
Accounting Plus or something like that.
That sounds so exciting.
Literally a game I thought was made by you.
So yeah, I mean, motion controls, what can we say, right? Actually not bad in VR. I don't know. Like, I don't know, Ant, what do you think? Like, are we ever gonna kind of replace the controller with these things, or are we just gonna have to have them kind of coexist?
Nah, I think they're gonna coexist. I think, like, it's funny how Sony kind of fumbled so many different things, and it led to them nailing it with the PSVR. You know, like they did the camera first. The eye came out first. Right? It was just like independent. Then they did the Move thing, which they incorporated the camera with, and then they went with the PSVR, which incorporated just everything at that point. So I'm glad as a gamer, you know, I'm glad that they were able to fix all this mess and make it into something. They stuck it. I mean, I'm shocked, you know, that Sony doesn't do stuff like that. They stuck to it, and now they're making they make the games that you can only play on that, but still supporting that library, but you're still getting regular games. The next iteration of the PSVR, now it looks like they're just going to update the control after 10 years. They decided to update the controllers, right? Yep. But unfortunately, that's still wired, which kind of sucks, but it's probably less intrusive as it is now. It might just be like one connection as opposed to like all the different attachments you got to do now.
Yeah, which is a bit of a rigmarole.
Yeah. So I'm sure they haven't done it because it's so expensive. But the only thing I could see them doing to improve on it is if they somehow if they made it like an actual glove or something like that. You know, like that's the only
like a power glove.
Oh God, no! I take it back. Please delete the last part.
Don't put that out there because Sony's going to be like, that's
I was thinking more of, I don't know if you guys have ever seen at like raves or something. You ever seen those gloves that have like lights on the fingers?
Yeah.
I was thinking something like that.
Yeah. No. I mean that would be it, right? Like that would be the epitome of it all. But like right now, as long as they don't try to make it just about that one thing, it's going to be always fun to visit VR and stuff with those controls. And I think you're seeing it now. It's becoming more accessible. I mean, with the Oculus and stuff, now you're really seeing the whole evolution of how great this stuff can be, how fun it can be, you know?
Yep. And how accurate now as well.
Yeah.
Which kind of was the last hurdle. Really, I think now with the gyroscopes, the VR controllers are really kind of where they need to be. I haven't had too many issues, honestly. Maybe a couple of games where I'm like, I'm having a hard time controlling this, but I think that was more the fault of the software than it was the hardware.
Does anybody remember the Microsoft HoloLens?
Yes.
Was this like a fever dream I had?
No, they presented it at one E3. I remember this.
They did. Yeah. And it looked fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Because basically what it was, Paul, since I don't know if you've seen it, but it's basically supposed to be like these, I think like it was kind of like a helmety looking thing, but it was like clear.
Okay.
and it would do like AR basically. Like you'd be looking around your room and then you'd start a game and like the shit would appear in your room.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think it might have been Metal Jesus or some YouTuber like that did like a video demoing some stuff for it. And one of the games, and I was like, this is brilliant, is they did this like murder mystery type game where like all the evidence would show up in your room. So you'd like walk around and like find a bullet hole somewhere or something. And then like the thing of the game is like the killer is like stalking you. So like at different points you might see like hear noises or like see shit out of the corner of your eye or stuff like that. And I was like, this sounds amazing. And I think they also demoed like stuff like Minecraft and other things like that.
Well, yeah,
you
have to have Minecraft.
See the world, and you could like manipulate stuff. But then it like never came out.
Yeah,
and then I think they like sold a bunch of them to the military. Actually, I think I saw an article about that. So God knows what they're doing with that. They're probably like virtually waterboarding people or something. You know, but it kind of just like disappeared. Like they never talked about it again.
Kelly, when was this? E3?
I want to say it was like 2015 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might have still been feeling the burn from the Kinect, I think, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was
maybe that
like...
was it. That's too bad. That sounds pretty cool.
I mean, this thing was going to be expensive, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, of course. I say of course like I fucking know anything about product specs and pricing, but like, yeah, of course that's going to be expensive. You know, bullet holes in the wall.
Yeah. No, I was like, this is why. Like, I was like, there's no way this is real. And then it didn't show up. So that's what I get for not believing, I guess.
Yeah, I think they needed the Kinect to actually use this thing as well. So when they said, we're not doing the Kinect anymore, they just kind of threw the whole thing out the window.
Oh.
That makes sense.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. I mean, it
Kelly, sorry, yeah.
No, I was going to say, I mean, it looks cool. I think looking at the Microsoft website, I mean, they have it here. The Lens 2 now. But I think it's just not ready for a kind of like immediate commercial. Like it's so expensive. It's like it's like from $3,500 to $5,200.
Oh, so yeah, it's like a concept card, an auto show or something.
Yeah, they're using this stuff like, I mean, they got to like, you know, I guess construction.
All right, new Patreon goal.
Yes. Let's
gonna need you to up your donation significantly so that I can have one of these. I'll wear it in every recording.
Oh, man. All right. Well, on that note, I think we're calling it a day here. I think we've done a pretty thorough look at the Sega Activator and a bunch of other stuff that doesn't really matter. But yeah,
we didn't even talk about the treadmill, the VR treadmill that I've seen rolling
VR
around.
treadmill. You know, there's another motion control thing that I saw that used strings. Like you hold, I know, I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but like you hold a couple of like, I'm just gonna call them sticks, but whatever, controllers. And based on where you pull them, they pull on these strings that are attached to sensors. And then it, based on obviously like where the strings go, it detects where you are. And this was like in the PlayStation 2 era.
Are you talking about marionettes, Paul? Like, are you talking about like,
no,
like puppets you move around?
No, good try though. Good try. No, this was an actual thing.
Really?
But
that's interesting.
we just, but like we can't cover like everything.
Yeah,
but we've done, you know, I thought a pretty thorough job, and it's always fun, like I said, talking about the Activator and the Power Gloves. So yeah, thanks so much, guys, for joining me for this episode. And thank you, Susie, for suggesting it. It was, I'm not going to lie, when she suggested it, I was like, ooh, this one's going to be tough. I don't know how entertaining this is going to be. And then I saw pictures of people using the Activator, and I was like, oh yeah, this is a home run.
We're gonna
now.
be fine.
And of course, thank you to everybody who's listening. If you'd like to find us, you can find us Linktree/Region Free Gamers. There you can join our Discord and talk to us about all of your motion control memories. And also our Instagram and all of our socials and all that kind of good stuff. And, you know, while you're on iTunes, or it's not even iTunes anymore, while you're on Apple Podcasts, feel free to leave us a review as well. 5 stars would be great. And, Ant, Arnie, even though you were late, Kelly, thank you so much, guys.
Keep it moving.